Raoul Juneja. Welcome to the show, my darling.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, you and I go back many, many years. Back in the days of even pre-ANOKHI.
Yes.
When you were still in school and you were DJ Raw.
Yeah, college radio.
Absolutely.
DJ.
And you know, your career has been so illustrious since then. And I've been watching you as you've been watching ANOKHI grow. Our journeys have been parallel.
Yes.
So you are here being honored on the ANOKHI list this year. And I'm very, very excited that through our meticulous nomination process that my boy made the list.
It is such an honor, and like you said, it's been, we've had so many of these types of conversations off camera over the years, so it's a real honor for us to get to chat on camera, and likewise, it's been amazing. I'm so proud of you and the whole ANOKHI team for 11 years of how far you guys have come.
I know, can you believe it?
Yeah, time flies.
But you know what, it's a testament to our community, right? I mean, you have been there since the beginning of time, so to speak.
I'm not that old, nor are you.
Oh no, absolutely.
This industry keeps us young.
Absolutely, absolutely, it has to. So what I want to do is I want to tell the story of you that people don't know. Okay, so let's go back to your college days.
Sure.
And you know, you were out there and you decided to go and do your own radio show.
Yes.
So talk to me about, you know, where did that come from for you? Because that was back in the day when really there wasn't any South Asians that were doing radio. There wasn't really, you know, any DJs out there from our community, especially in Toronto. So go back to that time where you know, in your infinite wisdom, thought to yourself that I'm going to do my own radio show. Take me there.
It was, I think, growing up in New York, even though I was born in Toronto, moved to New York at an early age, and growing up in that time of the late 80s and early 90s was the renaissance of hip-hop. You know, it really was I think the most authentic and the best quality music, as every genre has its, you know, jazz has its time and rock has its time.
And you know my favorite is Tupac, right?
And we share such a common thread in that, which I love, and I love that you appreciate that. So I think, and yet Tupac was a big inspiration for me, seeing, you know, the mix of, you know, his business skills and his artistry and also the political side as well. And I think at that time, you know, especially growing up in North America, us young South Asians needed, you know, role models and people that we saw, you know, on TV or on the radio or even in music, you know, doing something that we identified with. So for me, hip hop was that. And coming to Toronto, I mean, the Canadian hip hop scene at the time was also in its renaissance with the, you know, Maestro Fresh West, Shaw Claire, Cardinal Fischal. Everyone was really starting out. And we had, you know, Russell Peters, DJ Mastermind, some people that were also immersed in that scene. But really, when I was, you know, watching TV and listening to the radio, I didn't see someone like myself represented there, and to me that was an opportunity, and I said I want to be that person that, you know, I want to see myself doing that. I think I can bring something to it.
So let me ask you something before you carry on. What I'm really interested in is that, you know, our community, you know, South Asian young community in the West has really resonated to R&B hip hop, right, as opposed to any other genre of mainstream music. Why do you think that is? I
think because seeing it as something new, and seeing, you know, because as an art form, it's still relatively new when it comes to the hip hop community. So I think seeing people of color and, you know, native, you know, people, Asian people, South Asian people, they've been very much involved with hip hop since the beginning, because it's been something that has been there to support the minorities and also be welcoming of other cultures, whether, you know, white, black, anyone. So I really think that we saw something of ourselves in it. We saw something different. It wasn't the rock and roll that, you know, our parents, you know, listened to, and at the same time, it wasn't the mainstream pop, you know, music either. It was a very rebellious, you know, young thing that I think we just identified with, and a lot of the messages as well, you know, were things that we could relate to about, you know, youth, you know, needing to find themselves and, you know, get out of maybe situations of poverty. Racism as well was a big thing at the time that we also could identify with. So.
You know, and I think it probably had also a lot to do with the fact that, especially like, you know, the generations that were born and brought up in the West, there was just this, you know, that whole confused Daisy.
Yes, absolutely.
Remember back
ABCD, American Born Confused Daisy.
Absolutely, and, and there was so much confusion because, you know, on one side our parents are, you know, bringing us up in this like, you know, 1,000-year-old culture that is so stratified, and there wasn't really that much room to be flexible and you know, to kind of be an individual in your own right. And there we were in the West, where it's all about liberation. It's all about finding yourself. So you know, I think that maybe the hip hop genre of music helped them find a place to identify who they wanted to be, you know, within the West.
Absolutely. And at the time it was still, I actually had people ask me and say, okay, well, you know, you're South Asian Canadian, are you allowed to be doing, you know, hip hop? At that time it was such a big, you know, thing. And I, at the time, you know, I really felt like, okay, I need to be very authentic to this art form if I'm going to get involved with it, especially on the media side. I wasn't interested in being a rapper. Even though I was a DJ, I was a radio DJ, more of a radio jockey. I didn't want to be a turntablist or anything like that. So I felt I need to bring some authenticity to it and really show that I am passionate about it and understand the history that has come before it.
So you became that radio disc jockey.
Yes.
Tell me what you got out of doing that.
I think just to understand media and kind of the behind the scenes and how much work, you know, people listen to the radio, they watch TV, and just to know how much work when you're actually the one waking up in the morning and having to put these things together, how much work, how much research is involved. If you want to do it properly, you want to stay on the cutting edge of, you know, new music. You know, I was lucky in my family, I was always brought up as, you know, we're Canadian first, South Asian second, Sikh third. You know, they said this is kind of the way, and that's not normal though.
I mean, whatever the word normal means.
That's right. So I think in that sense, I felt a little bit of freedom to just be able to explore, you know, this side of me. And I think, just college media, I would encourage anyone who's interested in getting into media. I was writing for the campus newspaper. I was working with the campus TV station, campus radio station. It's a really good way to find your place in the industry and see how it works before you graduate to the, I guess, the next level of doing it.
And you know, what's interesting about your story, babe, is that, you know, you actually went to school for this.
Yes.
This wasn't just, you know, you had this, you know, pie in the sky vision of, you know, having a dream without, you know, the backing of it. You actually, you know, had a clear vision. And this is what I love about you, is that you're always very structured and strategic about who you want to be, where you want to go, and what the realities are of life. And even though the realities sometimes are challenging, similar to my story, I mean, those challenges are there for us to break them down.
Oh yeah.
And you're totally that personality.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I've been, both of our stories and so many others, I think when you're starting out, you're building your own business, there's a lot of sacrifices that, you know, come with it. You're often caught between doing, you know, many different things, not necessarily collecting a paycheck until your company is enough to where you can stand on your own. And I think that's one of the things also with the spirit of hip hop that I think people identify with, is the entrepreneurial side of things. Like if at the time, you know, as much as I was more so a Tupac fan than a Jay-Z fan or any of these other people, it's just amazing to see that, you know, someone like a Jay-Z, you know, the president of the United States knows who he is. That's how far, and I don't know if that's genuinely, you know, unique just to him, but it's just at the same time, it shows how far the pioneers have come, that we're able to be recognized on this much of a level. And even when it comes to, you know, media as well, VJs and radio hosts and things, I think the community has grown, as have we grown in the South Asian Canadian media, and all taken our steps forward. So absolutely. And you talked a little bit about you know, starting your business. I remember when you started your business, and you know, you predominantly, and this is what I find really interesting about you, is you kind of came at the business from you know, the other way round, representing talent before you actually yourself became talent. So let's talk about that phase of your career. I mean, you have represented many tremendous artists. So let's talk about some of the, you know, the people that you represented it, and in what capacity that you represented them. Yeah, I think when I first started out, you know, I was on the radio, I was on TV, I was writing, but when I saw the way that hip hop was going, you know, on a mainstream level and stuff, I was a little disillusioned. I think I saw it going away from a bit of its roots and going into more of a pop thing, which is fine. But at the same time, I was so inspired by seeing the multicultural Canadian community, and especially the South Asian Canadian community, in terms of our artists that were coming out. And that was something very new, because I'm sure, you know, with you also being from the UK, you know, really Apache Indian was the pioneer, but he kind of came and went, and there wasn't really anyone else after that that really, you know, stood out, I think, until we got into the times of the Raghavs and the Jay Shans and whatnot. So I think in Canada specifically, I just saw some amazing talent. The first artist that I worked with was named Iman Faith, who's a Middle Eastern Canadian rapper working with some amazing producers and talent as well. And that was a very interesting thing because I saw something where me and him collaborating, South Asian Canadian, executive producer and someone working on the album, him being Middle Eastern. It was a nice cross-cultural thing, and we were all supporting this thing of Canadian hip-hop.
Right.
And so I think there was so many of these great artists, coming out at the time, and I felt that the media scene wasn't, as much as I wanted to see, this community on TV and kind of what I'm doing now, I felt like the industry wasn't really ready because they didn't really know a lot about these artists. So not only with the artists that I was representing, but any artist that I met, anyone that I talked to, and it's so funny when you're young, you have so much time for these things, but I would just contact anyone and say, hey, you're doing amazing stuff. I know some, because coming from a media background, I had very good relationships with the media. I was producing events as well, and so I had those connections. I was like, hey, you're amazing. I want to refer you to this TV show. You should get on TV. Or I want to refer you to ANOKHI magazine. You should be in ANOKHI magazine.
You were brilliant with that, and you still are. This is something that you truly believe in. This is kind of, it's not even something that I believe that you feel is a give back. I feel that this is something that you truly believe that you need to do.
Right.
As part of the many things that you do within your portfolio, and you're such a connector.
Oh, thank you.
Of people, and you always look for opportunities where you can make things happen for people because they deserve it, but perhaps they don't have the business acumen or the connections to kind of get to that next level. You've always done that.
Yes, and sometimes you can't put and because I dabbled in PR as well when I was doing events and things, and also working with artists, but the thing is that the way the music industry was changing as well, you can't sometimes put a price tag on that, and it's not fair, especially for independent artists. And again, in a way, being an independent artist myself, I know the struggles of it. So you can't really expect them to have to put so much effort into recording music, shooting videos, doing photo shoots, doing all these things. So PR is still kind of a luxury expense when it comes to that. And when they sign with a label, they get that, but then they also lose a lot of freedom. I started seeing this artistic community and realizing that these artists also need help, and not necessarily charity in terms of raising money for them, but sometimes they just need someone to have faith in them and say, I have something I can do to help you. And if you trace any artist's career, there's always been those people that are connecting them with someone, or someone took a chance, took some time, did something to help them. And I think as much as we appreciate art, if we see those opportunities, we need to do it. And so after a while, I started thinking of it less as, okay, I can necessarily make this a profitable thing. But I thought, as a company, let me just be helping put these artists out there so that the infrastructure can be built, so that maybe one day we can have a TV shows and radio shows and just take things to a bigger level when it comes to our community.
And this is the thing that I really love about you, is that you had this idea that I think that South Asian music should have its own broadcast TV show across the nation, and I'm going to make it happen. And you did.
Oh, thank you.
I want to go there. VMix, of course, you're one of the co-creators, along with OMNI Television, of course. So I want to talk about that.
Sure.
I remember right before you did that, you, I remember you saying to me that, I need to kind of get to that next platform. I've been an artist, manager. I've, done a lot of work within the community to elevate, just to kind of elevate, what we are as a South Asian music community. But, I feel that there needs to be more that needs to happen, more from a national perspective. Right? And then before I knew it, you're calling me up and saying, Raj, guess what? Let's talk about how VMix came along and your role in just bringing it out there, because it's been around now for a number of years.
Absolutely. No, I think, everything happens for a reason. And I look back, a lot of people look back at my time working with artists and say, oh my God, you spent so many years working with these artists, and how did you have time to do that and this and that? But I feel like working with them, I really got a chance to understand artists better. And at the same time, I created very long-lasting relationships that have lasted to this day, to the point where, as I started seeing music videos coming out more, when music videos became more of a thing with YouTube and everything, our community and our artists also started doing that. But we weren't really represented. There wasn't really outlets to go to take that. And so my first place to do that was with film festivals. I started programming music video segments for film festivals in Toronto and in the States and Florida as well, and other places. But at a certain point, that also became very time consuming, flying out to these different cities, presenting these segments. And at the same time, I felt you know, you need something that's a little bit easier for people. You don't need to make them to come all the way to an event just to see music videos of independent artists that they don't really know.
Absolutely.
So I was lucky at the time, you know, OMNI Television. I saw, even on their flagship show, Bollywood Boulevard, they were including some things about the Canadian, you know, film scene and also some South Asian Canadian artists from time to time. But again, their mandate was Bollywood, and they were great at that. But I was very lucky. Their producers, you know, gave me a chance where I said, listen, there's such amazing music videos from this talent. Instead of showing 5 Bollywood videos an episode, do you think maybe we could squeeze one Canadian video, you know, in there? And again, it's taking a risk, but all good things come from taking risks.
But so you know what? If you don't ask, you don't get, right?
That's it. Yeah, yeah. So we started that, showing some of these music videos by these artists, and apparently the response was phenomenal. You know, because again, you're seeing something different. You're seeing something that's authentically Canadian, whether it's a South Asian Canadian, you know, Bollywood singer, whether it's a hip hop artist or an R&B artist, you're seeing something different. So that kind of progressed to then me coming on as a music commentator to have chats with Mohit Rajans, another good friend of ANOKHI, and we would have chats about music. And at one point, it was a Seinfeld moment. We actually said on air, you know, this should be a show. This should really be a show, you know? And we're like, yeah, I mean, what are the chances of that happening? But again, all credit to the network and the producers, because they said, hey, let's see what we can do with this. And it took a couple of years of development, a couple of pilots, and different effort behind the scenes from a lot of people on air and behind the scenes at the network, and support from the artists as well, because I had to go to them and say, listen, we're starting something new, we'd like your support, you know, we'd like to be premiering these videos, we'd like to, because again, it was a new thing to really have to get music videos to an outlet, because that wasn't really happening, and a lot of these artists couldn't get airplay on Much Music and these other outlets because they were independent artists, South Asian artists, rapping and mixing Punjabi and hip hop together. I mean, that's a bit too much for a mainstream station to understand initially.
Absolutely.
So that process started, and I would be driving around the city picking up DVDs at the time, because, you know, people were still giving videos out on DVDs. Now it's all digital, you email download links and stuff, but driving around the city, going to OMNI, dropping them off, and eventually they said, hey, we're going to start this show, and you know, we want you to be presenting the news and also coordinating the music content. And,
because of the years of just really expansive network you have within the South Asian music scene. But the thing is, you've talked a lot about the Canadian South Asian music scene, but a lot of people don't know that you're also incredibly involved in other geographical markets. I mean, literally around the world, there's a connection that you have. If there's a South Asian that sings in any capacity, you know, somewhere you're connected.
Yes, in the world,
Absolutely. So do you think that the success of VMix is timing? Do you think it's you know, because oftentimes, you know, for something to be successful, it can't be successful as an entity that exists on its own. So, you know, similar to what you've just been talking about, on one side you had these emerging South Asian artists in many genres of music. On the other side, they now started to get, you know, a bit of budget to put out videos. And then on the other side, you've got the platform, VMix, that gives people the opportunity to take their music further than, you know, their own backyard, so to speak. So do you think that it was just all of these variables and timing of all of this coming together that has, you know, in some large part helped VMix stay, you know, on air?
Absolutely. No, I think, you know, timing was impeccable, because again, now things are very much, you know, digitized with YouTube and all these things. But I think at the time it was still a little bit new, and I really do believe that there's always going to be a place for, you know, broadcast television, as much as things are digital, and so many people watch our show online as opposed to, you know, even seeing it on cable. But I think there's something about the broadcast, you know, TV thing that I think for now is still going to be there. And so timing was great.
It's still king.
It's still, So, but I think timing was great, and at the same time, you had these artists, you know, having ANOKHI on the print side of things to support them, your events also for them to be showcased, other great festivals as well around the city. But when it came to the broadcast TV side of things, on basic cable as well, that was something very important to me, because as much as I thought, okay, you know, there's digital stations and there's, you know, ones subscriber-based ones and other things that you can do, I wanted an average Canadian flipping the channel to be able to just tune in and say, what is this? Who are these artists and what's happening? And I think seeing the Canadian hip-hop scene also become very multicultural over the years, seeing, you know, people be successful, I think we were able to also say we're going to be supportive of the Canadian hip-hop scene. We're also going to be supportive of the international South Asian music scene, and just really support the artists and put it all together. And the way that I define to people, it's kind of like a multicultural mixtape, is how I would say it. And at the same time, what would be on my playlist is, because again, I'm South Asian Canadian, but I'm also from the hip hop scene. And if I'm listening to something, sure, I'd want to hear a little mix of some straight hip hop, some fusion music, maybe some mainstream Canadian hip hop as well. So again, I really think Toronto is the greatest city in the world, and we have these amazing outlets and these amazing opportunities and so many artists to be able to put everything together and say, let's really show the world what we can do. Kind of like what the Latin explosion did, in the 90s with Selena and Ricky Martin and Jennifer Lopez. I feel that we're kind of on that verge now, if we haven't already passed it, because it's amazing to see how successful so many of our artists have become.
But do you think that our music's actually going to get that kind of mass appeal? Because I mean, you touched on. We've talked about hip hop, R&B. We've touched a little bit on the Hispanic vibe that just really has gone mainstream. But do you think that our music, because I mean, one thing is that you're talking about many different languages. Then you're talking about many different genres of South Asian music, right? And other than mixing it with R&B hip hop, there hasn't been that much kind of diversification of our traditional music in mainstream. So do you think that we'll actually ever really get there? Because I don't think we have.
Not yet, no. And I think again, it's maybe at the same time, even when it comes to Latin community, it's interesting that now you can hear a song with Pitbull and Jennifer Lopez on Top 40 radio, and it'll just be considered a pop song. But 10 years ago, that would have been considered a Latin song, and it wouldn't have got played on the mainstream radio. So I think we're slowly getting there. Maybe it'll be more so different artists from our community as we give them these support platforms, and as we grow up from our generation, I think maybe different people will make it in different ways, and slowly by slowly it'll, it could still be 5 years away, 10 years away, but just to succeed.
But you believe it's going to happen?
I think so. And I think we kind of, we've seen that even with, Raghav had amazing success, around the world. He came back to Canada. He's had a lot of success on mainstream radio, and that Jay Sean did phenomenal in the States, getting on satellite radio and played around the world as well. And so obviously Priyanka is doing great things, being a Bollywood star and saying, I'm going to embrace urban music as well. That's added a different spin to it. So we're slowly making it, but I think, again, it's just a matter of having these outlets to support the artists and, have an authentic vision, something that's from us as well. So.
I absolutely agree with you, sweetheart. What do you plan on doing next?
I am just really excited to be working with CBC Music to be launching Canada's first South Asian Canadian radio station, which they call a stream supporting South Asian Canadian music artists.
And how did that come about?
This has just been a lot of good things falling into place at the right time. I think CBC kind of saw that vision to get more into the independent and underground Canadian music scenes the same way the BBC has. So they launched the service called CBC Music, which was online radio stations from every different genre and getting different experts from various communities and genres to program. And so just a couple of right people, right things happening at the right time, and I was able to get connected.
You're like smack dab in the middle of the next pioneering moment for music.
Yeah, and because we've had those conversations so many times about artists from here having to go all the way to the UK to get interviewed by the BBC Asia Network and other stations, or go to India. And it's great those outlets have supported our Canadian artists, but not a lot of our artists can afford to go all the way to the other side of the world. And we should have something here authentically Canadian, and I think CBC has always been supportive of Canadian artists, and I think it's a new niche that we will also open up to South Asian artists from America and from overseas and all over.
But I bet you were the person that started to like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and say to them, listen, you're missing the boat here.
That's it.
I know you.
Absolutely. No, and I think it's, I'm really happy that, we've got, the print outlets, with magazines like ANOKHI, with everything you guys do online as well. And then at the same time, we've got the mainstream broadcast, with what I do with OMNI, and now we'll have a radio component, digital jukebox for South Asian Canadian artists on the music side of things. And again, we've got people doing amazing festivals in the city. We've got so much other good things happening. So I think all of us are putting our efforts together to taking our community to the next level. And I'm really excited. That's going to be a new chapter to go on for sure.
And, you know, and what I find really exciting about this entire time that we're in with South Asian music, especially here in Canada, is that, you know, people always felt that, you know, they got to go to England, or they got to go to India, or they got to go to the States. But now, you know, people are starting to realize that there's so many legitimate platforms for South Asian music to, you know, get visibility in Canada. And, you know, and you've been kind of at the forefront there, sweetheart.
Thank you,
You're very humble, but, you know, I think it needs to be said, and it needs to be known that you've truly, you know, since the days of DJ Raw and the radio station in university, and all of the various milestones of growth in terms of the South Asian music scene, you've always in some capacity been there.
I think it's you know, even if you remember in our days of you know, going on CKLN, Ryerson's college radio station, you and I used to go on Masala Mix with DJ Meeta.
Wasn't that fun?
You know, which is amazing, you know, having a college radio spot in Toronto that, you know, could support our talent. Right before Amita's show used to be a hip hop show called the Power Move Show with DJ X. And a lot of our audiences used to kind of tune in a little bit earlier, hear a little bit of hip hop, and then go into listening to the South Asian music. And some of their audience listening to the hip hop music would stay tuned in and listen to our type of, you know, South Asian Canadian music. And I think me being influenced by that kind of wanted me to bring the worlds together and do what we're doing. And I think there's so many other people out there that are looking at what you're doing, looking at what I'm doing, what we're doing as a community, that we will also inspire the next generation to take it even further. So,
absolutely. And I'm excited to see what that further is going to be. I know that, you know, the groundwork has been, you know, implemented through people like yourself and the various people that have been around, you know, since the beginning of, you know, South Asian, Western pop cultural, you know, society. I mean, we've all been kind of in that area, but now it's, you know, we need to take it to like a whole other level. I'm excited to see what else we're going to be doing together. Do you remember? Do you remember when we put together the ANOKHI and DJ Raw music?
I was hoping you were going to mention that. That was pioneering. Must have been like, it was 2008, I believe, or it was somewhere in that range. Before that, 2006, it was somewhere in that range of when the community was just really starting to come out, and we said, let's put our heads together and, you know, put an audio mixtape and then also a DVD mixtape of music videos together. We did it for consecutive years, and I remember people taking that home, and some people still have that to this day. Back when people were still giving out CDs, now we'd have to give out USBs probably, or download links on little cards. But back then, everyone was popping it in their car and supporting it and enjoying it.
And that again was something you came to me at. So I want to make that clear as well. I thought, what a great idea. You're definitely an ideas guy. Right? So I'm looking forward to what other ideas are going to be in the pipe for you. I know that even though you've been in the industry for as long as you have, that this still is only the beginning of, you know, the greatness that you're going to be participating in. I look forward to it, and that's the reason why you are on the ANOKHI list. How did you feel when you got the call? It was
one of those moments. It was you know, I feel like just to be recognized amongst such prestigious other people that have been on the list and that I've been able to see in person, you know, having been at so many, if not every event that you've done. So just to be part of that community, and again, I think, you know, timing as well, to see that, you know, people can have a dream and keep working at it, and to, you know, reach a level where someone feels, okay, we actually want to recognize you on this big of a level. It was one of my big moments, and it was a great honor, you know, hearing it from you as well, and just seeing all the different ways we've collaborated over the years and been inspired by each other. So I really want to thank you and the whole ANOKHI team for putting me on that platform, and I see that also as a great responsibility with everything that, you know, I've done when I'm on TV or when I'm getting recognized like this. I feel people are putting their faith in me. They're saying, you're one of those people that is making a difference, and so I feel I have to live up to that, and it motivates me to work, you know, even harder and say, okay, let's keep doing what we're doing. So. And you've been working so hard already, and you still want to work harder. I know there's a lot of fabulous things that are going to be in store for just the whole music community, so long as you're there to just keep pushing that car along. That's it. Yeah. No, I remember in my house, you know, my dad was always watching, you know, David Letterman on TV, and then even after that, I grew up watching Arsenio Hall, and one of his quotes, and even now seeing him come back, was very inspiring for me. But I remember him always saying, don't follow what other people are doing. Create your own niche within that. Get inspiration from other people, but especially in TV and in media, create something different. And I think that, again, it's a testament to how hard our artists work and how hard everyone else in our community puts their efforts together, that we're now a community to be reckoned with, and that people see value in and say, we want to support what they're doing and take it to a bigger level. So yeah, it's a great time, and I'm just so excited to be participating in this event, and again, happening on my birthday too.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you timed it from like years ago and said, okay, it's good. No, but most of my birthdays have been celebrated at ANOKHI, so now this is definitely the best birthday present I could receive. So.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, this time your wife will be holding, your wife will be holding your purse on the red carpet.
Yeah, if I have my briefcase or something. No, I think the support that my family is showing me, allowing me to and giving me the chance to pursue my dreams, and my wife as well, just behind the scenes, personally and professionally, always encouraging me, motivating me, giving me little bits of inspiration to keep going. I think I was one of those people that said, I'm going to be single forever, and this is how business people do it, and this is how you need to do it. But now that's also helped open me up to seeing that how people need to work together. You need to have people on your side. It's really a good thing to open yourself up to allow people in like that. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the baby Junejas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's
Thank
coming.
you so
Thank
much
you
for being on the show, my darling. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to everything else that you got. That I know that you've got a bunch of stuff up your sleeve that you're not talking about. So you let me know.
You will be the first to know.
Absolutely, and we'll have you back.
That's amazing. Thank you,
my
Raj.
dear. Yes.